Welcome back to the channel and to week 13 here in the NFL. Got another episode jam-packed full of free picks for you guys here today. We're going to break down and analyze a couple different money lines, spreads, totals, player props. I got a little parlay that we threw together too that we'll go over there at the end of the video. But before we dive into any of those picks, need to go over week 12 and how that ended up going down. Man, we threw 15 plays out there. Only 7 of them cash for us. So we have a 7 and 8 day in week 12. Not the most ideal day, right? We end up losing about 2.5 units, man. If you watched the video last week, I talked about how I was just kind of in a lull, man, just kind of hovering around 10 units, right? And we were looking to stack up on those units, man, get above 10. Instead, we go the opposite direction. We go under 10 units. I'm now sitting at about 7.5 units on the season. So still profitable, still in the green. Man, like I said, we weren't looking to go down. We were looking to go up. But when you go down, there's only one place to go, up. So we're going to take that positive energy right there, throw that into this video, man. Did a lot of research this week, put my head down, tried to regroup a little bit. Let's get back on the winning side of things, man. So like I said, still profitable on the season, but we're looking to stack up on those units, man. Like I said, been in a little bit of a lull, and then we had a down week last week. Unfortunately, this is the world of sports betting, as you all know, man. You're going to have your ups and downs. Right now, I'm in a little bit of a down, but like I said, no place to go but up from here. So let's go ahead and jump into week 13. No more rambling on about me and my losing, this little losing streak that we're on right now. Let's get back on the right side of things. So let's go ahead and jump over to Outlier for that first pick of the day. And the first play I'm going to be looking at is going to be the Seattle Seahawks on the money line over the New York Jets. That's a 1 p.m. kickoff on that one in New York. We could find this one right now on Caesars for the best price, minus 105. If we take a look on down here, we can see Seahawks are coming into this one on a 2-game winning streak. Jets are coming in off of a 2-game losing streak. Okay, now let's go ahead and filter this one over to away and home, right? Seahawks on the road, Jets at home. Jets are only 2-4 at the house, man, while the Seahawks come in with a road record of 3-1. So we have that working in our favor there. That one loss that the Seahawks have suffered on the road was against the Detroit Lions. So kind of expected there, man, with the way the Lions have been playing. We can see down here, too, this little insight from Outlier. Seahawks are 10-2 in their last 12 games as a favorite, which they are here in this one, right? So they are 10-2 in those 12 games, 83% hit rate. Let's go ahead and scroll over here to the right. We can see their record versus common opponents. Seahawks are 4-2 when taking on the same teams that the Jets have gone 1-5 against. So little something else kind of playing in the Seahawks' favor for this one. If we look at them statistically, man, they're a little more even, right? 15th for scoring offense for the Seahawks, 12th as far as scoring defense for the Jets. They're both second in terms of passing yards, right? Second for the Seahawks offense, second in terms of passing yards defended for the Jets. Look, strength of schedule, though, this is one that I found interesting, right? Seahawks are 16th as far as strength of schedule. Jets are 15th. If we look at the strength of victories, Seahawks have, they've beaten some tough teams, man. They're sitting at 6th in terms of strength of victory, while the Jets all the way down there at 23rd. Like I said, man, I think a big thing here, though, 3-1 on the road, Jets 2-3 at home. So not the best look there for New York. The public is all over Seattle, man. 93% of the money is on the Seahawks money line. 95% of the money is on the Seahawks on the spread. That kind of thing typically scares me away, man, but sometimes the public is just right. And this is one of those moments where I feel like the public knows what the hell they're talking about, man, and I'm going to go ahead and side with them. So first play of the day, I'm taking the Seahawks on the money line. I like this too at minus 105, man. Damn near even odds for this one. So go ahead and throw that one over there on Caesars, man, for that best price, minus 105. Next play I'm going to be looking at, it's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles on the money line over the Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be my dog of the week. I'm looking at the Eagles at plus 143 odds right now on Caesars. That's the best price that we can find this one. 425 kickoff for this one, guys. It's going to be a good one. These two teams are pretty well evenly matched, man. You can see the Ravens are coming in winners of 3 of their last 4. Coming into this game here, the Eagles have rattled off 7 straight after the start of the season, 2-2. They are now sitting at 9-2 on a 7-game winning streak. Coming off a win on the road over the Los Angeles Rams, man. And last week I was spelling their demise, man. Like, the Eagles are due for a loss. They're due for a loss. And what do? They come out and they feed Saquon Barkley to the tune of 255 yards, I believe, and a 17-point victory in a game that they just had complete control of throughout most of that game, right? The thing that I like about this, man, let's go ahead and compare these teams, right? Offensively, these two teams are pretty well evenly matched. Like I said, man, they both really rely on that rushing attack. You can see the Eagles are first overall in rushing. The Ravens are second. The disparity here on offense is the air attack, right? Jalen Hurts has struggled this season. Lamar Jackson playing another MVP caliber season. They're sitting at third in terms of passing yards. The Eagles sitting at 25th. When we look at them scoring wise, though, you know, we can see the Ravens are sitting at second. They're averaging 30 points per game, but the Eagles aren't no joke, man. They're averaging 27 points per game and sitting at eighth in terms of scoring in a 32 team league, right? So they are not too shabby there as well. But you know, this Ravens offense, man, it's pretty damn spectacular. You can't, there's no other way to put it. First in red zone efficiency, third and third down conversions, second in first downs. But coming against this Philadelphia defense, they're not too shabby either, right? And since week 5, man, they've been the number one unit in all of the NFL. Sixth in terms of scoring, fifth in red zone efficiency, third for third down conversions. They're tied for second for first downs given up. But this is where they differ from that Baltimore Ravens defense, right? Let's go ahead and flip the Ravens over to their defensive side as well. This is where we see a disparity in the passing yards in that air attack, right? Third for Philadelphia, 31st for the Ravens. They are the second to worst team in terms of defending the pass. Now, both teams are pretty stout against the run, man. The Ravens are second against the run. Eagles are seventh. And that's what both these offenses like to do, right? They're going to pound the ball. They got, there's Saquon Barkley on one side. We got King Henry on the other side. And then we got two quarterbacks that, they're better than half the running backs in the league, right? I mean, Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts can hurt you on the ground just as much as they can hurt you through the air. The thing is, and what I like and why I like the Eagles more than the Ravens in this one, is simply that this defense is more balanced on that Philadelphia side, right? You can hurt Baltimore through the air. You can. So if Jalen Hurts can put together a solid game, just he ain't got to be spectacular. He don't got to be elite. He just got to have a solid game and then feed Saquon Barkley as well throughout that game. And I think that will give Philadelphia the edge, man. And really, it's just this defense is just stout, right? You can look back throughout the last few weeks here. They've given up 20 points to the Rams, 18 to the Commanders, only 6 to the Cowboys. I don't know what was going on in this Jacksonville game and how the Jaguars managed to put 23 up on them. Then you come back here to this game here, man. I was at the Cincinnati game, and I left with my head down, man, because this was a close game going into the fourth quarter, and that defense just put the clamps on a Cincinnati Bengal offense that has been pretty spectacular this season, right? It's the only reason why the Bengals even have any wins under their belt is because of that offense. 17 points was all they could muster against this Philadelphia team. And you see that final score. Like I said, this game was tied, late in the third quarter, and Philadelphia just pulled away with a quickness. And that's what they can do. 3 points given up to the Giants, 16 to the Browns. So this defense is stout, man, and they have the running attack to where, they can just kind of keep the ball out of your hands, man. So kind of beating Baltimore with their own medicine. But like I said, I like that Philadelphia defense just that much more. But you look at it, man, record versus common opponents. These guys, like I said, they're evenly matched, man. Playing against these same teams throughout the season, Philadelphia's 4-1 against them. The Ravens are 5-1, right? These teams are evenly matched, man. It's one of those ones where, if you're on the Ravens side of things, I can't hate you. I can't even try to talk you off of it. But for me personally, I'm going to go ahead and put my money over here on the dog. Give me that plus money with the Eagles. Man, I think they keep that winning streak rolling and they get number 8 in a row, man. All right, next up, going to be looking at some spreads, and this one pains me. I will be at this game. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Bengals, 1 o'clock kickoff. I'm taking the Steelers with the points +3, man. Look, I'm going to be completely 100% honest with you guys. If it wouldn't kill me to do it, I would probably take the Steelers on the money line here. Man, look, Mike Tomlin has been the Steelers head coach since 2007. If you look back at the Steelers and Bengals head-to-head in Cincinnati during that time span, Pittsburgh is 14-4 straight up. It sucks, but it's the truth, right? So we can find the Steelers, though, with plus the 3 points on Caesars right now for -105. Why the Bengals are favorites in this one, I'm not sure. I know it's a divisional game. I know the Steelers just lost to the Browns, but that was also a divisional game on Thursday Night Football. And Mike Tomlin's 0-8, 0-9. I can't remember what the number is. He has not won a Thursday Night Football game at all in his time as the Steelers head coach. So, I mean, I'm just not understanding. I'm not seeing it. I don't know what I'm missing here, but I know that I've been a Bengals fan my whole life, and I've watched the Steelers just completely manhandle us for years and years and years on end. So, like I said, this one pains me, but this is me betting with my brain, not my heart, right? So let's dive into it just a little bit more. Like I said, 14-4 under Mike Tomlin in Cincinnati since 2007. Man, ugh. But look, on the year, right? Looking at it just 2024, the Steelers, they've lost 3 games. They only failed to cover this +3 spread once. That was last week against the Browns when they lost by 5. Their other 2 losses were by 3 exactly, to the Cowboys and then to the Colts in Indianapolis. Otherwise, man, they've rattled off 8 wins, right? Looking good over there in Pittsburgh. It's a 73% hit rate to this +3. Bengals, on the other hand, have just found ways to lose game after game after game. So, man, I don't know how I expect anything less. Looking at this game here, and looking at the Steelers and what they bring to the table versus my Bengals, I don't know how I could even begin to lay 3 points with the Cincinnati team who can't close games out, right? I don't know how you're going to close a game out against this Pittsburgh defense. This is the best Steeler defense that I've seen in the last 5 years at least. They're elite, right? Let's go ahead and look at those stats down here before we dive into anything else. I mean, the Bengals offense has been superb. We just talked about that. They're first in the league in terms of passing yards. They're 7th in terms of scoring, 3rd in red zone efficiency, 5th for third down conversions. But we have no running attack, man. 27th 27th in terms of rushing yards, and you're going up against the 4th ranked rushing defense in the league. So this is going to be a Burrow-heavy game. You're going to rely on Burrow once again to lead the charge and try to just like pull some kind of miracle out of the hat. And man, we've seen time and time again this season how many games has Burrow just like been lights out, and it's just not enough. We lose those games right at the end by 1 possession, right? 7 losses for the Bengals, 6 of those have been within 1 possession. I don't see how that changes here against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's been our arch enemy and the biggest nemesis in my time of being a football fan. And for that reason, man, the Steelers just constantly and consistently will pull out a close win over the Cincinnati Bengals, man. So I don't see how that changes here against this defense, especially. And that offense is starting to, like that swap over the Russell Wilson did something for this team, man. I know that there's been some struggles the last couple weeks, right? Only 19 points and 18 points put up in those last 2 weeks. Like I said, both of those were divisional games, man. That Baltimore Ravens game, we knew that was going to be a slugfest, a low-scoring game, and it always is, too, against the Cleveland Browns, especially in Cleveland, man. I don't know what it is, man. The Browns always play everybody in the division tough, so these, they just don't really throw me off too much from what the Steelers have done this season. You look at it before those 2 games, 28 points, 26, 37, 32. They were really rolling underneath, with, excuse me, with Russell Wilson under center. And then you look at, we're going up against this Bengals defense, and you see I'm wearing 55, man, Logan Wilson. Besides Trey Hendrickson, man, I can't really think of any Bengal on the defensive side of things where I'm like, man, he's had a great season. It's been a shit show, man. It's been horrible. Horrible. And this is why the Bengals are 4-7 and, just really just 1 loss away from being officially out of it. Like, I think most of us with any kind of realistic expectations, we understand, this season is a wash. 28th in terms of scoring defense, man. 31st in terms of red zone efficiency. 27th in terms of third down conversions. 29th in terms of first downs. They're 23rd against the pass, 20th against the rush. They're not getting to the quarterback. They're, third to last in terms of sacks. And you have Trey Hendrickson, who's leading the league in sacks. So many frustrating things for the Cincinnati Bengals, man. Come on down here and we can see, too, this is another one where, all right, strength of schedule. Okay, we can see that the Bengals are, we've had a middle of the pack, 18th in terms of strength of schedule. Steelers 29th. So, is it all just a big facade, or are the Steelers not really as good as we think they are? Well, let's go ahead and look at strength of victories. Okay, so that pushes them all the way up to 8th, right? They've beat some good teams, where the Bengals have done the complete opposite. The only teams that they have beat teams with losing records, all right? So their strength of victories has them dead last. And the Steelers really haven't been too bad on the road, man. They're 4-2 on the road to the Bengals 1-4 at home. So, man, like I said, it's crazy too. 63% of the money is on the Bengals on the spread, but then you come up here and you can see 63% of the money is on the Steelers money line. I agree with the public in that aspect, right? Like, I do think that the Steelers win this game. I cannot put that bet in myself as a Bengal fan, but what I can do is say that, damn it, I hope my Bengals win and they win a close one. You know what I mean? Do I think it's going to happen? So, like I said, I'm taking the Steelers plus 3 points. And next up, I'm going to be looking at an alternate spread. We see the Broncos are sitting at minus 5.5 point favorites right now. I'm going to go ahead and just take that at minus 4.5, just a little bit more insurance, just in case. Honestly, I do think the Broncos win this one by a touchdown. But just gotta, I could get this at minus 115. Like, why not just get that extra point just for a little bit more insurance, man? So minus 115 odds there at Bet 365. We can see on the season, man. Look, the Browns are coming off that nice win on Thursday night against the Steelers. Their last win before that, was another divisional win for the Baltimore Ravens. Besides that, man, they've been pretty poor, right? 14 points scored against the Saints in a blowout. Only 10 scored against the Chargers in another blowout. They only managed 14 points against a horrible Cincinnati defense that we just talked about. Only 16 against the Eagles, 13 against the Commanders, 16 against the Raiders, 15, 18, 17. This is not a good team, man. It's really not. We can control over here and we can look. The Browns kind of hung their hat on that defensive side of things, man, for a handful of years here recently, right? Not so much the case this year, right? Only 22nd in terms of scoring defense. Now, we do have a, rookie-led offense over here for the Denver Broncos. So I feel like some of these numbers are a little inflated because of that, right? There has been some struggles. There was some growing pains at the beginning of the year. But we know that Bo Nix has turned it up here as of late. This offense is starting to click. They are doing much better. But let's go ahead and flip things over because Denver hangs their hat on the defensive side, right? Second in terms of scoring, first in terms of red zone efficiency. They are ninth against the pass. They are sixth against the rush. And the Browns are horrible on the offensive end. And I love Jameis Winston. I think I've mentioned that a few times in these videos. I love dude, man. He is such a great leader. Is he a great quarterback? Not so much, man. They are 30th in terms of scoring. They are 21st for the pass, 29th in terms of rushing yards. They are dead last for third down conversions. They are 29th in terms of first downs. They are 13th in terms of red zone efficiency, but like I said, number one for the Denver Bronco defense in that regard. And here's a big factor right here. The Broncos are going to get after the quarterback. They are 8th in terms of QB hurries. They are 2nd in terms of QB hits. They are 1st in terms of sacks. The Browns, 18th for hurries, dead last for QB hits, dead last for sacks. So I like the Broncos in this one, guys, on Monday Night Football. Give me Denver minus 4.5 at minus 115 on Bet365. All right, guys, we're going to be jumping over, looking at some totals now. I got a couple team totals I'm looking at, and the first one's going to be an alternate for the Texans over 22.5. And we can see them on the season. They have hit this at a 67% rate. They have come in one time on the hook there, right at 22. But they have hit over this mark 8 of the 12 times this season, and we're going up against a Jaguar defense that is sitting at 31st in terms of points allowed. Let's go ahead and look down here. We can see, against common opponents, man, the Texans are 5-3, the Jags are only 2-5. It's been a bad season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Texans, they've had their ups and downs, but offensively, we can see that they are 11th in terms of scoring, and like I said, 31st in terms of scoring defense for the Jaguars. And just down the board, you can see how inefficient this defense has been. 26th in terms of red zone efficiency. And the Texans are only 19th in that regard. You can see, too, they're only 15th in terms of passing yards, only 20th in terms of rushing yards. But you're going up against a defense that's sitting at dead last in terms of passing yards allowed, 26th in terms of rushing yards allowed. And they're not getting to the quarterback at all. There's going to be no pressure whatsoever there on C.J. Stroud. Just 26th in terms of sacks, 30th in terms of hits, and only 18th in terms of hurries. So I like the Texans' chances here against this Jaguar team. And I'm also going to be looking at the Cleveland Browns under 17.5 points. So we can see that we can get this one at FanDuel minus 108. Now scroll on down here. We can see the Browns have only hit over this mark 3 times this year. One of those times was against that Jaguar defense that we just talked about and how poorly they are. And they only managed 18 points against them, right? Now against the Baltimore Ravens, 29 points, and then that other divisional game against the Steelers, 24 points. Other than that, we have failed to hit this mark in 8 of the 11 times played this season. That's a lot of games under 17 points, right? So definitely like that a lot. And then we also just talked about that Denver defense, right? They are second in terms of points allowed. And don't need to dive too far into that again. We already went over how efficient this defense is, especially stacking up against this Cleveland Brown offense. So I definitely like that one here at minus 108 odds too. Like that just feels like a gimme, man. So gimme. I'm going to take that one all day. Cleveland Browns under 17.5 points. All right, going to dive into a couple player props too. I'm looking at Joe Mixon first of the Houston Texans. Looking at his rushing yards over 79.5, and we can get this one right now minus 120 over there at Bet365. Now, if we look at this on the season, man, he has hit 6 of the 9 times he has played this year. He has hit over that mark for a 67% hit rate. Let's go ahead and look at this insight from Outlier as well. We can see that he has exceeded that mark 4 of his last 5 games when facing bottom 10 defenses for rushing yards allowed. He's actually averaged 101 yards per game in that average, well above the 79.5 that we need him to hit, right? So we can see that down below here. So definitely love to see that here for Joe Mixon. Like I said, and that 25 yards there was against a pretty good defensive team there in the Chicago Bears. Other than that, man, we can see that he has cleared this mark in 4 of his last 5 games when facing these bottom 10 rushing defenses, and that would definitely be the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're sitting at 26 overall in terms of rushing yards allowed, and then against running back specifically, just 22nd. So not a good look there for the Jaguars, especially facing Joe Mixon, who has been revitalized behind this Houston offense, this Houston offensive line, and just a better run scheme that better fits him and his rushing style. I love to see it, man. I definitely for years thought we were underutilizing him over here in Cincinnati. So I would have loved to see this kind of production with the Bengals. I would have loved to see the coaching staff utilize him in the way that Houston has and create a better running scheme that fits him. But I love to see it for Joe, man. And he's been a cash cow for us this season. We've definitely, on this show especially, have cashed a couple props with Joe Mixon. So I like this one, guys. Minus 120 odds, yeah, for Bet365, over 79.5 yards, Joe Mixon. And next up, going to be looking at that Bengals Steeler game again. I'm looking at Joe Burrow and his passing attempts over 36.5. It's minus 106 over there at Caesars right now. Now, no, we're playing a Steeler defense, right? They're 21st in terms of passing attempts against. They are stout against the pass. Doesn't mean teams aren't throwing against them, and that's what the Bengals do. They live and die by the pass. Let's look at this again, right? That offensive unit first in terms of passing yards, 27th in terms of rushing yards, and we're going up against a defense for the Steelers that are 18th in terms of passing yards, 4th in terms of rushing yards. So why in the hell would they try to run the ball with Chase Brown against this Pittsburgh Steeler defense? I don't see that being the focal point. Let's go ahead and scroll down here, and you can see for yourself 64% to 37% as far as pass versus run rate. They're passing the hell out of the ball, man. Zach Taylor loves to throw the ball, much to all of our dismay. Be a much more efficient unit if we had some kind of a run game. But is what it is, man. This is what is going. The proof is in the pudding, right? Look at these last 4 games: 37 attempts, 39, 56, 50. Man, and it's another must-win game, right? So the ball is going to be in Burrow's hands. I like his chances of getting above this number, man. And it's sad, dude. You look at these, right? The games that they've won, his passing attempts have been lower. Yeah, Carolina, right? The only game that they won where he exceeded this number was against the Raiders, and he was just kind of having a day, and there was only 39 attempts, too. It's not like he crushed that number like we did this week, right? 56 and 50. Good night. But anyways, I do like this here against the Steelers. Like I said, you got to try to hit them in their weak spot, right? And there's not many weak spots on that Pittsburgh Steeler defense. I think that, like I said, they're 18th against the pass, they're 4th against the rush. It's like, which way are you going to attack? If this is where your hand is, it's clear that this is what the Bengals want to do, and it's kind of what they have to do with the personnel that they have, and this is what you're going up against. It seems like it's going to be a pass-heavy day once again for the Bengals. So 36.5, we need 37 passing attempts. He's cleared that mark 4 straight times now on the year. And we can see this insight, too, from Outlier. He's actually exceeded that number dating back to last season even, 6 of the last 7 games at home, averaging 38 passing attempts in those games. So I like this one here, guys. Joe Burrow, like I said, over 36.5 passing attempts. And next up, staying in that same game, I'm looking at Pat Freiermuth, the tight end of the Steelers, looking at his receiving yards over 24.5. We can find this one on FanDuel for minus 111 odds right now. We look at him on the year. He's hitting at a 55% rate, 6 of the 11 games that he has played. And there's been more red than green lately, right? You know, he did have 59 yards last week against the Browns. 3 games where he hit under that mark, 51 yards here against the Jets. 2 more games where he hit under that mark, right? So what's that? 5 of the last 7 games he's come under this number. So why do we like this? Well, it's because of who we're playing here. Going up against that Cincinnati Bengals defense, they're 22nd in terms of receiving yards allowed. They have always struggled against tight ends. This season has been no different. 28th in terms of receiving yards allowed to the tight end position specifically. If we look down here as well, we can see that Freiermuth is the second highest targeted receiver on that Steeler offense as well. So, man, a lot of signs are pointing towards, 25 yards. That's all we need. I think that he gets that in a couple different catches, right? I think that we see a big goal game there from Freiermuth, much to my dismay. So it's another one there where it pains me, but I feel like this is a very solid play at minus 111 too. I love that there. So definitely throwing that one in myself, and I'll be crying when he hits it. Then the last prop I'm looking at is going to be Nick Chubb, rushing yards under 64.5. That's that Browns and Broncos Monday night matchup again. We're revisiting that one for this prop here. We can find this one over at FanDuel, minus 114. Now, on the season, he's coming back from that wicked injury, right? So he came back against the Cincinnati Bengals back in late October, and so far he has not come over this mark one time. He has hit the under in each of his 5 games he's played so far. Now, you can see that he is getting closer to this, right? 59 yards here against the Steelers last week. That was on 20 rushing attempts as well, right? So the attempts, were kind of hovering in the teens there for the first few games. He does get up to 20 rushing attempts there against Pittsburgh and still only manages 59 yards. Now we're facing a Denver defense that is 6th in terms of rushing yards allowed. And if we look at them against running backs, it's not like it drops off too much, man. Now we're just 7th, right? So a stout Denver defense. We've already talked about that. Against this Browns offense that's just been putrid all season, right? 29th in terms of rushing yards, going up against that 6th ranked rushing defense for Denver. So I like this one here. He's failed to exceed this in 6 straight games as well. And we can see down here as well, man, the Browns throw the hell out of the ball also. 65% pass rate to a 35% run rate, right? And that is evidenced by the fact that Chubb has only played in 5 games and he is leading the Browns in rushing attempts. It's just absurd. That's absurd to me. But they've had just really no rushing attack all season long. I don't see where that changes here against this Denver Bronco defense. So 65 yards seems like a big ask for a team that's just really struggled on the ground with a running back that is coming off of a horrible knee injury, right? So I'm going to take this one here, guys. Minus 114, FanDuel, Nick Chubb, under 64.5 yards rushing. And then lastly, I'm looking at a 4-leg parlay. It's a money line parlay. These are just 4 teams, man, that I like. I feel like they have the best chances of winning this week. So throwing it all together there, they're high odds for their, individually for the money line. Not anything that I would want to play straight, but combining them together, we can get a parlay for plus 303. So looking at the Texans on the money line over the Jaguars, I think Houston rolls all over this Jaguar defense. I don't think this one is as close as that spread indicates. I think the Texans are 3.5-point favorites in this one. I think they win this one by a score or 2 at least. I don't trust that Jacksonville defense farther than I can throw them. I'm not throwing them too far with these arms, guys. The Commanders on the money line over the Titans. Commanders at home. They've had their ups and downs here the last few weeks. I think that this is a good bounce back spot for the Commanders to get right. They're looking at the Bills as well at home over the 49ers. 49ers have just been ravished by injuries all season, and we have seen what the Bills have been capable of this year, right? It's another team that, like, as a Bengal fan, we've had our back and forths these last couple seasons, so I hate to see them doing so well while my team is struggling so much, but it cannot be denied. This Buffalo Bill team is legit. Josh Allen is playing phenomenal. He's got a weapon now in Amari Cooper. Like, man, hard to beat. I think that they roll over the 49ers as well. And then we've talked about the Broncos a handful of times here in this video in that matchup with the Browns now already going over the spread and a couple player props there. So you know where I stand there as well. This Denver defense, I feel like, is going to just stifle this Cleveland Brown offense. So, like I said, these are 4 money line plays that I would not play individually, with the lowest odds being the Texans at -180. That's just way too juiced, right? But we combine those four together, we can get it at plus 303 over there at DraftKings. So definitely going to be putting that one in myself as well. Guys, that's going to wrap it up here for week 13 and my favorite plays that I have found off the slate for this week's action. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. I hope you found it helpful and useful. And if you did, please do not forget to smash that like button down below and hit subscribe if you have not already. That way you don't miss out on any of the content that we are dropping across the channel on a daily, between Ev, Tassos, and myself. And I will see you guys next week for week 14.